All right. Hey guys, Stefan here again. I finished the research module yesterday, um, and we went through that. And now we're going to work on the mechanism component. And, I'll be honest with you, I don't entirely have my mechanism yet. A lot of times you'll get it from the research. And there are components and ideas I have. So I'm going to do this in real time. I may do pauses so you can see when I'm, you can see the time. So it's like 3:43 on Sunday right now, right? So again, the first thing, so there's two parts of the mechanism. There's a mechanism behind the problem and the mechanism behind the solution. And I've talked about this before if you look at my training and stuff like that, right? So the mechanism behind the problem is like why they haven't succeeded in the past, and the mechanism behind the solution is like why the solution is unique and they'll succeed in the future. So we're going to kind of just go at this, and I'm going to see if I like it or not. I'm going to be honest with you. But the first thing to do, right, is what is the problem? And this is really like the pain point. Let's put the urgent pain point, right? The urgent pain point prospect faces, right? So, okay. The main problem is that the prospect significantly overweight, at least 50 pounds, that's probably a problem, right? But then the question is, okay, why is that a problem, right? It's affecting, I'm saying right a lot. I'm kind of talking quietly because my daughter is napping, and even though she's upstairs and far away, I'm like still paranoid that I'm gonna wake her up. Right, it's affecting their quality of life, their confidence, their self-esteem, their happiness, their relationships. It's also, this is a big part of it, affecting their health, their A1C and blood sugar levels are high. They are either pre-diabetic or diabetic. They have unhealthy cholesterol. They feel tired all of the time, have poor sleep, possibly suffer from gout, feel bloated, and have stomach issues. These are things that I kind of got from reading the forums during the research component. So that's part of the problem. But a further component of the problem is not just they're overweight now, but it's also that they've been trying to lose weight for such a long time and have never had long-lasting results, right? So let's write that out. I'm saying right so many times that it's really bizarre, but just roll with me here. So. All right. So yeah, I mean, you can watch me typing all this, right? And I know it's this uncomfortable silence. But to sum it up, they're overweight now. It's affecting their personal life and threatening their health. And they've tried different diets in the past and have had long-term success. So this is interesting now because what we're going to look at is, do we want to look at the mechanism behind being overweight, or do we want to look at the mechanism behind not having long-term success? And they're very different mechanisms. They're both problems. And so it could be that we just decide to address both. So the thing I think about is, why are you fat? Okay. Why are most people fat? Now, I know some of this stuff you can also get from research, and but because I know some of the stuff, I'm going to kind of rock with it a little bit here, which is, I don't know if I'm going to talk about Dr. Ansel Keys. And by the way, my daughter is snoring now. I swear to God, she can hear me even though I'm talking quietly. But let's try it. So, starting in the 1950s, we began replacing whole foods and fatty foods with foods that were low fat and high in carbohydrates. Okay, that's some of the case. So here's the thing. Carbs are made up of sugars. When you eat a lot of carbs, your body converts those carbs into blood glucose, sugar. So in other words, you're probably addicted to sugar. Actually, nothing about that. When you're overweight, you're addicted to sugar, whether you realize it or not. I'm going to pause this for a moment because Laura just came home from the gym and I want to say hi to her. So pause. Okay, so I'm going to resume recording. So I was looking at this here. Actually, one thing I would say that instead of saying all carbs are made with sugars, yeah, that's true. I think it may be clearer if we just say when you eat a lot of carbs, your body converts these carbs into blood glucose or sugar. And I can get a little bit deeper into that. Or I should probably talk, I mean, I need to find something to show that carbs are the same thing as sugar. So instead of keeping it there, let's look and see if we can find something. Let's go like this. Are carbs the same as sugar? Perfect. Thanks, Google, for reading my mind. You know what this organization is. Atkins might help because it's going to be friendly. So sugars are a type of carbohydrate, they're saying. Let's go back to this, right? These aren't helping, but that's going to be something I'm going to have to answer. So kind of, does the body turn carbohydrates? I mean, I'm pretty sure the answer is yes, but I'll get an answer on that. So assuming that I'm right, right, when you into blood glucose or sugar, and yeah, this makes sense. Okay, that's interesting. Put that down later. So this is messy. Look, this isn't. I'm not just. It's like I magically have my mechanism, but okay. So then your pancreas then produces a large amount of insulin to help take this extra glucose out of your bloodstream. And then once the glucose is out of your bloodstream, some of it is converted into a starch called glycogen. That's what it's called, glycogen, and stored in your liver and your muscles. But the problem is your liver and muscles can only store a limited amount of glycogen. And because your body is being flooded with sugar by eating a low-fat, high-carb diet, I need to clean this up to remind people exactly what's going on. But basically, when you eat a low-fat, high-carb diet and the carbs are being turned to sugar, your body's being flooded with sugar. But because, remember, you are eating low-fat, high-carb diet, and carbs are turned into sugar. Right, so, okay, I just put muscles here. It matters to my own thing, but you can always throw them out. Because your body's been flooded with sugar, most of it does not get stored by your liver or muscles. Instead, it continues to float around in your bloodstream. Having super high amounts of sugar in your bloodstream is bad, though, i.e., how you get diabetes, or one of the hallmarks of diabetes. And so your body takes all of this glucose, all of this extra sugar in your bloodstream and stores it as fat. Yeah, and then let's see, so talk about the diabetes part too, right? So on top of all this, okay, well, so what I think to point out, what I'm trying to do here, what I want to try to point out is that your pancreas is producing a large amount of insulin to help take extra glucose out of your bloodstream. So I guess I put like, because you're eating a carb diet, which again equals a high sugar diet, your pancreas, what am I trying to say here? Is continuously producing more insulin than it normally would. This is a problem because not only we're seeing a lot of the which I think here. So basically, right, okay. Because over time, your cells in your body start to ignore insulin. Which means you need to keep producing more and more of it. And basically, at a certain point, you become completely insulin resistant and get type 2 diabetes. Now, another thing you can kind of put is like, how do I put this here? Basically, you keep being hungry because that's something to figure out and have to fit into this too, right? Because the more food, the process of converting carbs into sugar, what should I say? It's basically a fairly fast process, and they're not very satiating, so you feel hungry and have cravings for more sugar. So I guess I'm going to put it here for now, and I'm going to clean this all up so you'll see. But basically, another note. Your body, insulin turns carbs to sugar, stores them. It's a fast process. I don't know about this. Okay, your body produces insulin and turns them into carb. Produces insulin and stores carbs, sugar very quickly as fat very quickly is a problem because, one, you don't feel full for long and get hungry again quickly, and two, what am I trying to say? You feel two, and specifically you crave more carb-heavy, sugary foods. So I want to go back to this point, which again I gotta figure out how to play with it, but like, other words, even if you don't like sweets, you're addicted to sugar right now. Not mentally, although sugar has been shown to change brain chemistry, but also physically because your body is craving more sugar so it feels full and satisfied. Again, super rough, not great, but let's do a few more searches here. This is all their stuff from the other day, but so how your body stores carbs, let's try that. Let's put keto into this and see if we get better. It's really interesting here. There's so many ads in this. It's kind of a garbage article. All right, I'll have to find some science. I know most of this is true, but I'm going to find some resources and Google them, and then I'll come back and share with you guys. Oh, this looks interesting. I'll look at that one. I'll come back. I'm going to pause it. All right, so I'm back for a minute here. I'm still doing research. I'm still working through this. This isn't an overnight thing. There are times where you can do the mechanism really fast, and I'll share that. But in the case of keto, it's a challenge because I'm trying to find something unique. Call it generally the unique mechanism. In fact, I could put it here: unique mechanism behind the problem. So, it's not just something that everybody knows. It's what's unique, and so there's a challenge with keto because it's so. It's becoming really popular. So people kind of what do people know about the keto diet? Like, it's a low carb diet. Oh, I eat low carbs and eat a lot of fat, but I lose weight. Right? That's kind of what people, the average person might say, and it's actually pretty much true. So how do we make that unique, exciting, or interesting? One thing I like, I'm looking here from the Cleveland Clinic, which helps. It's really weird because their ads suck, as you can see. Maybe it's this is Jason's Puppy Dogs and Ice Cream, so maybe they broke the internet. But I don't know who it's from, but I know it's from the Cleveland Clinic. So what I'm going to do is just put it out here. And I've actually done this before. You'll see sometimes what I do. I do a lot of notes, and I keep reading, and then as I start to form a narrative in my head, then I synthesize it all, and then I create my unique mechanism by my problem, my solution. So anyway, let's do this for a little bit, right? For most of our 8 million years on the planet, we ate a very plant-rich diet. We didn't eat grains or beans until about 12,000 years ago. We didn't eat dairy, right? We didn't eat sugar unless we found a honeycomb where the bees made honey. Our diet is very, very low in sugar and starch. But basically, once the agrarian revolution occurred, we started farming and having crops. We shifted our diet to one that's heavy in carbohydrates, from things like wheat, corn, soy, wheat, corn, soybean oil, along with processed foods. So it doesn't exactly bridge the gap. In this one part, I'll get back to it, right? I'm going to add my own part into that. Our body turns these processed foods along with wheat, corn, grains, and corn to sugar. It turns them into blood sugar. Okay. Our bodies like these kinds of food because we're wired to because sugar allows us to store fat. When we were hunters and gatherers, our food was very unpredictable, so we wanted to store fat. Today, when we eat 3 predictable meals per day plus snacks, can get food on demand. Okay, I know stuff here now, but right, it's a huge problem. Why we're eating way more carbs than ever before and storing them as fat, and we're getting fatter and sicker than ever as a result. What's an even bigger problem? Sugar is addictive. So this is a weird article because it's not, I don't even know who wrote it, what the deal is. The one thing I do think is interesting though, I mean, the addictive aspect is interesting for sure. And then, because he talks about starches too, right? Sugar and starch we need. So that's what's sort of addicted too. Like you're literally, it's not just that you're addicted. We say that you're addicted to sugar. People say they're addicted to sugar. And I think of someone eating cake or brownies, but it's actually carbs too. You're addicted to carbs. But the reason you're addicted to carbs is because carbs are sugar, or specifically the carbs that you're addicted to. Not that many people are addicted to like fibrous, fiber-rich vegetables. People are more addicted to pasta and bread and cereal. They're addicted to grains, which are all kind of starches, which get broken down into simple sugar. In fact, we know that because up here, well, part of it's from here, which is another page I pulled up. It's more pro-carbs, right? But, you know, basically, I mean, the site sucks, but basically, let's see if I can find another one. No, that one sucked too. I found a good one. It was from, I'll have to find it. But basically what happens is your body turns starches and sugars into, well, sugar is already sugar, but then it becomes blood sugar. And then starchy foods are also broken down to sugar, so like potatoes and simple carbs, stuff like that, right? So that's most of the issue. And so what the Cleveland Clinic's saying is that, you know, we're addicted to that stuff. So there's some interesting aspect there as far as the unique mechanism behind the problem. It might be something that we play with. So if we're saying the unique mechanism behind the problem is that you're literally addicted to foods that are making you fat. Now, I don't know if I'm going to work this up, right? Unique mechanism. Literally addicted to foods that are making you fat. Let's say not just so I'm gonna play with this real quick, right? How many? Oh my God, Jason Gutowski is following me around the internet. That was interesting, so I might come back to this one. So I'll come back here, but let's do something like this. How many heroin And I can even do, rather than heroin, opioids. So opioids, 49,000, which by the way, fuck that, that's sad. But alright, opioid. I don't know how to spell opioid, which is probably good. This means I'm probably, not doing a whole lot of opioids here. Where did I just see that? Right. Oh, here. Oid. Right. So in 2018, there were 49 deaths from opioids. How many deaths? People in the US died from smoking in 2018. By 2030, great. $443,000 people die in the US by smoking, according to Share Care. We'll have to verify that. Let's say, for now, I'll verify it. 443,000 deaths were caused by smoking. Then let's look at how many people die from obesity. People die from obesity in the US each year. Okay, how many people in the US from diabetes each year? Cause of death, 252,000 people. Interesting. So we basically don't know. But we can probably say, like, 1 million people a year die. And heart disease is still the number one killer, which is fascinating and something. But what? I'd maybe make that 1 million. We could try and make that longer. But the point is, what are we doing about it? There's PSAs about exercise. People say diet, but what does diet mean? We go on longer, but it's an interesting headline, right? More addictive than opioids. How? I can't spell opioids in life. How that's probably too long, but this figure is worth putting something like that, right? Plus from your food addiction and lose 20, 30, or even 40 pounds of stubborn fat this year. Just some ideas. As a comment, put them there. I don't know if I'm going to do anything with this in the hook, but it is interesting. I mean, I think the thing is this, right? So you could take this and sort of use it as a unique mechanism, and by being like, okay, like, you're addicted to carbs. Literally, carbs are turned into sugar in the body. But here's the thing about sugar, right? Carbs equal sugar. Where am I going to put this? Okay, so like, you're addicted to foods that are making you fat. One, like, sugar is addictive. Two, you might not realize that most carbs are turned into sugar, which is why it's common to hear people say they have such a hard time giving up bread, pasta, milk, cereal, and other carb-heavy foods. Truth is, this addiction is why you've never been able to lose the weight you wanted to keep it off for good. Oh, I think my daughter's up, or as I'm hitting a little groove here, which is actually pretty good. So fat is bullshit. Just put here, right? Bullshit is high carb. God, we look at some of the diets. I got my daughter. Atkins didn't work because you start reintroducing carbs, but that's like reintroducing heroin to an addict, just a little at a time. Starvation doesn't work because cutting calories a lot doesn't work because sorry, I'm getting started with my daughter on the monitor, but this is good, just a little at a time. Cutting calories doesn't work because you're just doing a little heroin instead of a lot, but when something is addictive like that, moderation is pretty much impossible. Let's actually do now. I'm trying to think about now is like I said, where do I put the part about how sugar makes you fat? Could do it up here, is what I'm thinking about, right? So sugar makes you fat. Sugar is also addictive. Plus carbs are turned into sugar. Let's see, this might be too circular, but let's just try it out. Sugar makes you fat. And I don't know, it's all caps or whatever, and is addictive. Proof. Right? So high blood sugar, body creates insulin, sugar stored as glycogen or burned as energy or stored as fat. Right? Okay. Sugar, basically. Right, science behind why, and then we'll just run out some of it. Science behind how carbs are turned into sugar. And reminder, reminding them that sugar makes them fat. This is why carbs make them fat too. It's the exact same thing. So now you understand that most carbs besides fiber equals sugar. It makes sense why so many people say they have such a hard time giving up bread pasta. Let's put dairy, carb-heavy foods, and find more examples. Chips. And people talk about it being the salt or the sauce or the texture, but it's not. It's the carbs at the foundation that are addictive and keeping you fat, right? This addiction is why you've never been able to lose what you wanted or to keep it off for good, right? Low fat is bullshit because high carb, aka high sugar, aka fat and addicted. Atkins doesn't work long term. You start carbs, you start reintroducing carbs without reducing heroin act, so time cutting carbs with time. So there's almost like side things like that, right? Here, this will be easier. Also, as a proof element, people lose a lot on Atkins at the start, but then begin to gain it back. Same reason that popular anymore today. It worked at first, then stopped working. And when did it stop working? When you start introducing carbs back in moderation. Because again, reintroducing a little heroin to a heroin addict. Okay, and then cutting calories doesn't work because same thing. You're saying instead of a lot of heroin, I'm just going to do a little heroin. But when something is that addictive, it doesn't last. Okay, I think Laura is up there with Eden, so I can turn the monitor off, it sounds like. All right. Moderation doesn't last. Okay. I should do this. Weight Watchers plus Jenny Craig plus Nutrisystem, all the same thing, about fewer calories, grams of fat, but not about cutting cutting out addictive carbs and sugar. All right, so I gotta build this out more, but I don't hate this as the mechanism behind the problem, right? And you're able to see the logical connection. I'm gonna probably pause here in a minute to go do stuff with my family, but right, okay, so mechanism revisited, right, is behind the problem. So I'm gonna keep playing. It's fine. We'll do this, right? Unique mechanism behind problem equals addiction. What I like about addiction is that it kind of implies that it's not your fault, right? Most people are like, well, an addict just is what it is, right? You're addicted, but it's like, you can't control it. You're addicted. So again, sugar makes you fat and it's addictive. Through high blood sugar, body creates insulin, sugar stores glycogen, or burned as energy, or stored as fat. You never really see skinny type 2 diabetics. It's a proof element, right? Most carbs are turned into sugar, right? Carbs are turned into sugar, sugar makes them fat, carbs make them fat too. It's the exact same. Understand why carbs make you fat, plus it now makes sense. Why so many people say they have, I don't know what the hell is going on, okay, hard time getting bread, all these other things, right? Right, okay. So the truth is, addiction is why you're never going to lose weight. You want to keep it off for good. And we're shitting on the alternatives. So that's the unique mechanism behind our problem. What I'm also going to do here, I'm going to take this, copy it, new, I'll paste it here. I'm going to need to add in more science and like that part, which I'm going to do. But let's go keto. New keto offer unique mechanism. Okay, so let's move behind the problem. So let's go quickly here. All right, so unique mechanism behind solution. Let me come back to, actually, God, I love this. Okay, so check this out. So two things. I do want to pop this up top because I want to remember the problem still. So, all right, so what's the problem? Okay, overweight, 50 pounds, all this stuff, right? That is the problem. Also, the emotional eating aspect, and which I put up here, funny, right? A drug, emotional eating. Like, so when do people realize? I'm trying to think where I'm going to make a point of this, but I'm going to make a point here for now. So another note on the addictive aspect. Think about how hardships in life trigger people to emotionally eat, right? Whether it's death, divorce, God, I cannot spell anymore. Actually, I guess that wasn't terrible. Whether it's a death, a divorce, a financial problems, relationship problems with family, etc. These are often times when people start eating more. Well, let's say binge eat or eat extra unhealthy. Same reason there's a link between depression and overeating a lot of the time. Well, there's also in being skinny, maybe not. And so binge eat or eat extra unhealthy, right? They are masking pain in traumatic childhood stress events. Okay, these are same reasons and times that someone who is like a recovering drug addict will be at risk of relapsing as well. Another time people who are trying to break their diet is when they are out at a restaurant or a party or with a group of friends or on a vacation, etc. Everyone else is doing it. They want to break loose. Break loose. We want to cut loose a little, right? Great. These are the same situations where a recovering drug addict might relapse too. At a party where everyone is doing cocaine, so they decide it's okay to do cocaine too. So the point of this stuff is just, the point of those examples is fine, is just to make it clear how similar the link is between carb, sugar addiction, and other addictions. And we'll want to make it clear too that their weight challenges and problems are not their fault. Let's put that in all caps. It's funny because you see it a million times, but it's are not their fault. Right? Okay. Now anyway, if that is the mechanism behind the problem, is that they're addicted. I'm not going to do this so far now, like I said, but basically the unique mechanism behind the solution is to break free of their addiction. They have to do this by, I have an interesting thought, but okay. By powering their bodies with something else other than sugar or carbs. Again, both of which make them fat and keep them dependent and hold them back from living their ideal life, right? Okay, so how do you do that? Actually, I'm going to put it's the same way a former drug addict might replace that with exercise or running a marathon or an ex-alcoholic now paints every night, whatever. Again, keep the addiction thread going. Anyway, they have to do this by powering their bodies with something else, right? Now, the easiest way this is to replace sugar and carbs with fats that are turned into ketones. And at this point, you have to get into the science of stuff though, right? So why, right? So ketones, the body can either run on sugar and run on fats. Just like that. This isn't perfect scientifically, but whatever. Your body can either run on sugar and carbs or run on fats. I don't know why it says the carbs and sugar, or it can run on fats and ketones, right? Sugar equals addictive, like a drug. short-term highs and long-term crashes, long-term body damage, poor sleep, like a drug addict, irritability, bad mood. I think it's irritability, right? Irritability, foggy brain, etc. for now, right? Ketones equal not addictive, long-term energy, long-term better mood, much more focused, much better mental focus and a sharper brain, lower, well, like that, brain, burning fat, store fat and get fatter, something like that. You burn fat and get skinnier, better sleep, reverses body damage. And so, okay, so let's think about this. Okay, so primary bodies for something else other than sugar, carbs, right? Just gonna go from drug addict, right? I can't spell, but whatever. So basically, we have to explain the difference here, right? This is the part where it's like science explaining how. Like I've probably already explained how carbs. So saying, right? How do we explain the sugar? I guess up here we probably have to mention that. You know, most people's bodies run this way. Bodies run this way. Put it there, right? And so then basically, like, okay, back to the mechanism. Like, already know what it's like to run. Remember, body. I'm trying to think what this was. Actually, replace this again. Okay, so this is funny, but replace carbs. Is to, let's go like this, to place, yeah, your body is like an engine. It needs gas to run. So it needs energy to run. You can either get this energy from carbs and sugar, or you can get it from fats and ketones. You already know what happens when your body runs on carbs and sugars. But what happens when it runs on fats and ketones? When it runs primarily on fats and ketones. Right, not addictive, long-term, blah, blah, blah. So how do you replace this? How do you switch to fuel sources? Right, this is what the ketogenic diet does. You switch from running on carbs to running on fats, and it's like getting clean and experiencing the world. I don't know. I gotta stop because of other stuff. But this is what I'm riffing on here. We'll come back to it. But I actually kind of like where this is headed now. Again, I started at 3:45, I want to say. Yeah, double check on that. It's 5:03 now. So an hour and 15 minutes now. So I mean, yesterday was like a little over 3 hours, and we did all of the research, right? Which is going to come back. You're going to see how this research is all going to come back and be just crazy good and crazy useful. Two other things I want to note. These are interesting thoughts. All right, one is, I'm going to make a little note here, SPG note. So I do story idea, woman at mom's funeral. There's this big cake. She's been on a diet and has lost some weight and feeling good. She doesn't eat at the funeral, but at night the cake comes back to her house, but the cake comes back to her house because family and friends are visiting. In the night, she sneaks down and eats the whole rest of the cake. In between tears, from there goes on a sugar and food and junk food bender. It's emotional eating. What else? I mean, it's emotional eating. It's addictive behavior, like relapsing. It's to mask the pain. And she knows it on some level, but she quiets that voice and gives in to her urges. Something like that, right? Could do, is that right? The first one, quiets. I cannot. It's quite quiets, yeah. That's one thing. The other thing too, the only other problem, I actually know how to solve this, I think. But the only objection I have here to myself on this is like, okay, so carbs get turned to sugar and are addictive. We get to the keto diet, you still do like 20 or 30 grams of carbs, but you were saying that even a little bit of carbs is, like a little bit of heroin. So how are you going to get past that? But I actually do think I have an answer for that, which is that, in the keto diet, you're mostly doing and should be doing, again, like fiber, which is a type of carb and net carbs. I mean, I guess technically you're subtracting fiber for net carbs, but, I guess if they're complex carbs that are high in fiber, then they aren't being turned into sugar and it's taking a long time. And so, while you could just completely eliminate carbs, it makes more sense to, have there's certain carbs. It's like kind of like chewing a cocoa leaf in Peru and Machu Picchu versus doing a giant line of cocaine. But that might be the best analogy. I'll figure that out. But I think we can get past that. So anyway, again, I'm going to stop now, and I'll come back to you the mechanism of the mechanism of solution in more detail. Probably tomorrow morning, because I'll be back in my office then. So, okay, so let's go ahead and stop.